There shall be houses, security and comfort for all, a clause in the Freedom Charter that guided our struggle against the racist apartheid regime. Since 1994, the democratically elected government has failed to fulfill its promise to build adequate social housing for the poor. This short film focuses on the occupation of the old Woodstock Hospital in Cape Town, known as Cissie Gool House, home to almost 1,000 people. The occupants of Cissie Gool House are engaged in a co-design process for the space and how it can best serve their needs.
I am Bevel Lucas. I'm an elected house leader here at Cissie Gool House, and I live in a section called Darling Gardens.
My name is Andrea Couver. I come originally from Italy, but now I live in South Africa at least 18 years. I live in Woodstock, that is this neighborhood, and I'm part of the Resident Association of Woodstock.
Reclaim the City advertised a public meeting at a space called Community House in Salt River Road. It's the name that attracted me, Reclaim the City. It's something that I could identify with, and it's something that we always had aspirations for.
I decided personally to be involved after we had a discussion in the Resident Association. We decided for many years ago to participate with the activity and try to make the situation better. Is obvious complicated situation because there is a tension between the resident inside of Cissie Gool and the people that live around, because obviously when you have a space where there is around 900 people living, that are people living here that are part of the South African society. So inside of the occupation you have everything that you found inside of South African society. So you have the good and the bad, the good guy and the bad guy. But the question is how we improve the situation and make it, because if we think that if the living situation of the people in Cissie Gool House become better, also the situation around become better. So
We considered some architects that had worked previously with communities, and so we came across Malcolm Campbell, who was active in the Princess Flay development and had worked with the community there.
As an architect and urban designer, I've got considerable experience in affordable housing. But then, as I say, as a community activist, I have been supporting communities in their struggles, particularly with assisting them on unpacking the spatial aspects of their environments. A lot of the housing developments are on sites where there are no communities, right? The communities come afterwards. So the designers really have a kind of a blank slate on which to work. This is a very different case. There's a very strong community. They've lived together for a number of years. They have a very good understanding of the building and of its surroundings. And at the organizational level, they've already developed ways in which they can cooperate and organize and manage the facility. And they managed to do so quite successfully. What we see there is not anarchy, right? It's a highly organized, highly disciplined initiative. And if the city supports it in the appropriate manner, it could become a model.
We had a draft constitution that was adopted, and we then had set out a roadmap to formalize the movement to elect chapter leaders, to elect house leaders, and to begin to formalize house meetings, chapter meetings, advice assemblies, and it then became a way of life within the movement to have structured meetings, to have constitutional meetings, to have leadership meetings, and to have meetings and meetings.
So look, I've been fortunate enough that I've designed a hospital, the first hospital they built in the Western Cape in 30 odd years. And the nice thing about Woodstock Hospital, which Cissie Gool House was known as before, is that it can very, very easily, with very little cost, be converted into affordable residential accommodation.
We are in quite a historical moment to me. Positive or negative, can be a historical moment to be negative. But we are in a historical moment to change, because can be a very interesting social housing project involving communities and rethinking the way that social housing is made, rethink a lot of stuff. Because if you see the legislation in South Africa is very working in boxes, you need to follow in some boxes, but the life is not following in boxes. So, and also there is a possibility to build in something where the people are able in some way to build in self-organization, sustainable self-organization.
I think the important thing in these kind of initiatives is that these communities are well supported by professionals. And I think in many instances, particularly on the legal side, right, and this has been the case in Cissie Gool House, I add an additional layer of support, and that is at the technical level in terms of spatial understanding of housing policy, and the instruments that are used to implement housing policy.
And hopefully what we deliver here will be reflective of people's dignity and of respect to people to be able to live in a decent house for all.
We call our passage Upper Mountain, because Table Mountain is right there behind us. Here's my kitchen. This is my kitchen. And my balcony. Come look at my balcony. I've got my washing. You see, I've got no problem hanging washing up. Yes, come I'll show you my bedroom. Now, all I would love for them to do for me is make a hole through here. I'll take you to my room now. If I put an arch here, I can go straight into my room. That's what I would like for me. That's cool. I didn't even make my bed up for this meeting. Sorry. You see, if they can make an arch for me. Oh, I love my room. Wow. I love my space. I don't want to move. I don't even want the house. I want to stay here. In my heart, I want to stay here. I don't even want to move.